This is Donna, and we are live in Nashville at the CBA Unite conference. I keep wanting to say Cincinnati because we've been there the last 2 years. So I'm like, no, we are in Nashville. There's boots and country music everywhere. But Karin has written a book, Sink or Swim, and just an amazing story, and just kind of your process from it. So she's going to share a little bit about herself and the book. We'll show the book is Sink or Swim. And so Karin, go ahead and tell just a little bit about yourself and then a little bit about the book so people kind of understand.
Okay, well, my name is Karin Rooney, and I am in we're in Nashville.
Yeah.
I'm in Dallas, Texas with my husband and 3 kids. And the book Sink or Swim, Life After Crashing on the Hudson River was a story that a lot of people wanted to know about from a passenger's point of view, especially hearing the words of Captain Soley saying, "Brace for impact." And so the story covers that, my experience, the moments, the feelings, the prayer, and the things that I went through. But it also talks a lot about the journey I went on with afterwards, even though it was a miracle and we experienced God's provision and we left without, any injury. I struggled with post-traumatic stress disorder and just lots of fears and anxiety that came from that moment that was so real and made me very afraid, and it really did trickle down into later years of my life.
And so how long did it take before you kind of started understanding, what was happening and that it was related?
So my degree is in social work, but I've always worked with like a demographic. I worked with the elderly, and so I've worked with children, and over the years, just on my own, even reading books about counseling and therapy, and so I knew that something was wrong. Partially because I just wasn't feeling good. I was feeling super anxious. I was feeling afraid. And also just the things that I had learned. I also work in foster care, and part of the agency I worked with was training on trauma. And so I think coupling all the experiences I had, I knew that this was post-traumatic. I was surprised, though, because I thought, I didn't get hurt, so why am I struggling? Why am I experiencing these things?
Yeah, I think that's great, because I think a lot of times people only associate the PTSD with the military, and a lot of times you'll see it with someone who's had like cancer,
Yeah.
or some type of illness where it's been life threatening, even if they survive. So what do you want people to get from the book?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I think every person's going to read it and gather something different. There's people who've read it and they said, wow, I really resonated with your desire to control and where that came from. And it started when I was really little. And, I really resonated with this desire to, make things happen. I'm a go-getter. And, for me, the end of the book, since we did write this book, it's been complete for over 5 years, and it wasn't until a year ago that it was published. But the end of the book is just talking about what can we do to prepare. We can never prepare for a disaster, but we can make choices in our life. We can decide who God is, we can decide who we are, and then we can also decide what we will do when and if those things happen in our lives. And I think everybody's going to get something different from it.
Yeah, great. That's great. So do you have any other books that you think you'll write?
Oh my gosh, I don't know, not right now.
Yeah.
Not right now, but I don't know. I never thought we wrote this book. Our desire was to share the story, but again, I probably shy away from having too high of hopes because I don't want to be let down. And then this all happened, and it's been so wonderful and such a peaceful process, and I've really enjoyed it.
Wow, that's great. So did your family support you writing the book?
Yeah, it kind of came about, and it took so long, and we wrote for a while. We didn't have a publisher for a while, so I think everybody was just like, this is great, this is amazing. And then we found out that Deep River wanted to publish us, and I think we were all kind of in shock. But everybody's been so wonderful.
Oh, that's
very
good.
supportive.
Was it hard to kind of share stuff that's so personal?
Everybody knows the story. They walked with me through it. My sister, my mentors, my parents, my in-laws, so they knew what was going on. And so it feels interesting that it's on paper and everybody can read it. And, for me, I wanted to be honoring to the people in my life and the things that I do share. And so I really had to find the balance of being honest, but also honoring. I feel like, again, people have taken it well, and
Yeah. So what would be, looking back, like what would be a piece of advice for friends or family if we think somebody is going through that? Like how do you support them?
I think everyone's different, and I think the biggest thing is to just ask. And for me, the trauma didn't start until a year after the crash, and I think a lot of my family and friends were like, well, what? It's been a year. Like, aren't you over that? And not that they said that, but that was the feeling I got. And what you have to remember is that someone might experience something and they're in such shock or denial that it may not be until years later. And so just saying, I'm here for you. What can I do for you? And not asking every day, but is there anything else I can be doing? How can I support you? I love you. It's okay. Say that it's okay to be in a place of struggle, and asking that person what they need.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. What is something memorable, like for people who've read it, like anything that they've kind of shared where it did touch them? Like were you surprised with any of the feedback from the readers?
Well, everybody likes hearing the story about Chris and I, my husband now, but when we were on the flight, we were dating, and I was 25 when the plane crashed, so I've matured a little bit. I'm 33 now. And at 25, he was my dream beau. I wanted to marry him, and so the story is very raw in me just being as swoony over him as ever. And I think people were like, it was really, really sweet to see how much you loved him and wanted to be with him. And a lot of people enjoyed that piece of the book.
Yeah, yeah. We'll end on a fun note also. Like, what is something readers would be surprised to know about you? Because you share a lot, but is there anything they'd be surprised to know?
I don't know. In the book or just?
Oh, either, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't know.
Did the crash trigger him to do anything?
Oh, that's a really good one. Yeah, so, I had been praying for a long time that God would move in Chris's heart to just know what he wanted from me, because I couldn't make him want to marry me, and even though I wanted to. And I did. I prayed a prayer before we left on this trip that God would just do something in his heart to show him what he wanted from me, because I desired that. And I think he did too. He just wasn't ready to take those steps. And when we were waiting in the hospital room after the crash, he was getting checked out. He just said he felt like this peace that God just said, like, she's the one, you need to marry her. And now we're married, and we've been married for 8 years, and we truly look back on that moment and that day with this is what God has for us. And obviously, if you've been married, like, it can be hard, and you can you're just being refined day by day, and we always go back to that moment. Like, we both just know, we know in our heart that this is what God has for us.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you so much, and thank you for sharing. And again, we want to show the book, because I think this book could just touch a lot of people. Kind of to your point, like, there's the different phases, and the people can see themselves in it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, bye.